how you go from this to this or this. Chavre and Happy New Year. I don't know if I can still say that since a month has already passed, but you know what? First video on this channel, it still counts. In today's video, we're gonna check out two rigs for the GH6 and the GH7. I will show you both rigs on the GH6 just because I'm filming with the GH7 right now, so I need that over there. I'm gonna show you the first rig and then show you the second version that I created, which is a smaller version. And I'll talk about why I reduced my rig in the first place. So over here on the table, we have everything that we need for two rigs, the original one and the newer, better one in my opinion. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, let's talk about rigs for a moment. Why should you rig your gear? Can't you just slap a lens on here and you're good to go? Yes and no. Let me explain why. Reason number one, it improves stability. A rig reduces camera shake. It results in smoother footage, especially when shooting handheld. Reason number two, enhanced ergonomics. Rigs make it easier to handle a camera during long periods of shooting by evening out the weight and adding comfortable handles. Reason number three, expandability. Rigs allow you to attach essential accessories to your camera, like external monitors, microphones, lights, a follow focus, you name it. Reason number four, better controls. A rig makes adjusting focus, zoom, and other settings a whole lot more easier during the filming process. And reason number five, and that's an iffy one if you ask me, it makes your whole setup look more professional and polished. That goes in two ways. For one, I personally love a rigged camera. I think it looks cool, I think it looks nice, it handles nicely, but also the effect on set that a full-on rig has. I can tell you a story about a client of mine many years ago. I showed up to the shoot, I had my GH4, I didn't have it rigged out, it was just a tiny camera body, it was even tinier than the GH6. The client looked at my camera and they were like, this camera? Really? This one is gonna do it? And I was like, trust in me, trust in my abilities, we'll get this done, this camera is more than capable of doing so. And by the end of it, the client was super happy, they loved the image film and everything was good. A couple of years later, I showed up with my GH6. Sure, body is a little bit bigger, but the main difference was it was rigged out. Every time we stopped, the client walked up to my camera, looked at it and was like, damn, that looks good. That looks really cool, really nice, really cool. And while it is true, it looks more polished, it looks nice, it looks professional, it is really cool and awesome, and I wouldn't want to miss it anymore for several reasons that we'll get into later. Do you need it? Honest answer, no. Most of the things that you see here displayed on this table, they're nice to have. They do help you, definitely, but they're not essential. You don't need this to be a professional filmmaker. Some of these things are just for show, but that's just how the business is. And now, without further ado, let's get into rig building. Okay, first up, let's get into the very first rig. It was the first rig that I completely built out based on the GH6. And by the way, everything that I'll show you here today, I'll build it on the GH6, but it also works obviously with the GH7 since the bodies are basically exactly the same. Even if you have a completely different camera, but you like the setup that I'll show you today, most, if not everything that I show here, you can build it on to a Sony, a Fujifilm, a Nikon, whatever you handle, Canon, doesn't matter. The only thing that really changes is the first thing that we're gonna need, and that is a cage. And this cage right here is a cage from Tilta. A lot of these parts are from Tilta, some of them are from Small Rig, but if you're interested in the exact products that I'm using here, check out the links in the description below because I have everything listed that I'm going to show you here today. First of all, we're going to place the GH6 into the camera cage right here, and we have a few mounting points down here. To hold the camera in more secure, you also have like a little screw that comes right through the camera strap hole. Alright, for the next part I have a few more tiny little things that we will attach onto the cage. We have a little NATO rail here from a Newer. On the other side we have these two little screw holes right here. They are for this other little part right here, which is an HDMI clamp, and I can only recommend that you use an HDMI clamp to prevent the worst case, something yanks at your camera, you trip over it, the cable gets caught somewhere on your clothes or something, you yank it out and you damage the HDMI port on your camera. Now that we have that, let's talk about HDMI cables. So there are a bunch of HDMI cables that you can use. It depends for your monitor. If you're going to use a monitor, if you're just going to use the back monitor of your camera, then that is fine too. I personally like to use a monitor. It makes focusing easier. So what I still had laying around was this nice little cable from Tilta. Once you plug it in and you tighten the screw, you have a tiny little screw up here that fits perfectly into the mounting point up here on the cage. So that's what I usually do. I just plug it in here and just tighten this down. Once that is secured, it looks something like this. And we're ready for the next step. Now technically my cage setup is complete, and I always leave it like this, so when I'm out taking photos I can just remove everything, I can have the camera like this, and I can go on shooting photos. So next up, what we have for the big camera build is this part here. At the bottom here we have a Manfrotto tripod plate that I attached onto this rail system. But in order to use that, we also need this little plate right here. The only thing that you gotta make sure is that you put it facing frontwards. Tighten it up front. Pop. Done. From here on, we can then put some rails. I got here, I believe those are 15mm rods. We just stick them right through the holes. These rails allow you to add more accessories onto the camera, like a follow focus, which you will see in just a second. Let's install a lens. So I got here the Sigma 18-35 Art f1.8 with a Viltrox mount adapter EF to M22. So now that we have the lens attached, let's add one of these bad boys. This is just a lens support. Next up, we have handles for the camera to make it a little bit more ergonomic and nicer to grip. So I have this wooden handle here from Tilta as well. There used to be like a little magnetic Tilta sign in there, which somehow got lost. I don't know where. I'm kind of sad about it because now it looks kind of weird. So if anyone from Tilta is watching and you feel like that I should have the Tilta logo right in here, hit your boy up. All right, let's add this handle. We can just slide it on here, lock it down, and there we have it, a nice solid wooden handle. I really love this handle, it feels so nice. All right, next up, we can place the other handle over here. And this is where the nail rail that we placed earlier here on the side shows its magic. We can just slide it on there and boom. Now this handle has a few more options. There's a record button up here at top, and you can also attach a little follow focus here to the front of the rail and control it like this. I honestly don't use it. I feel like it's just a hassle to set it up. Especially if you don't use cinema lenses, I ran into the problem that sometimes the setting up of the follow focusing wheel here wasn't done right, and I couldn't turn the wheel here anymore, but I still had quite some way to go for focusing, so I just don't use it. Also with the button up top, there's another cable that goes straight into the camera here. To use the record button, I don't use it honestly, especially since on the GH6 but also the GH7 you have a record button here. You can use the shutter release button, you have another button up front. You have tons of options. I never use it, it doesn't matter. Next up is the top handle. We have this one from Newer here, and I show you exactly why I chose this handle over the one that came with the cage. We can also, because everything is native rail, slide it up here and we have pretty much set up and it's ready to go. Now that that's been taken care of, let's go with a monitor. Right now here I have the new Atomos Shinobi 2. It also is wrapped in a metal cage because the housing of the Shinobi is just pure plastic, and I wanted to protect it a little bit more. At the time when I bought this, the only company that did monitor cages for this specific model was Nitze, however you pronounce that. I leave that in the description as well. I think at this point, other manufacturers have also come out with their own monitor cages. Same thing here, adds protection, gives you more mounting points for additional accessories that you want to place on them. On the bottom here I have a SmallRig camera mount that I can just screw in the top of my camera. This is also the reason why I chose this handle. The handle is slanted here, which makes it ideal to have the monitor up there, so it's also like in your actual vision. The other thumb handle that I had, it was exactly slanted into the other direction, so the problem I had was if the handle was here, the camera would be stuck underneath here and would only come up till here, which made it kind of hard to see. Now that it's up there, I have full range of motion and I can see everything. With the monitor attached, let's go ahead with the follow focus system. We can just slide it on one of those rails, tilt it up, tighten that, and now we can easily pull focus over here. Now, since the monitor is on top of the camera, we can use the HDMI cable. I actually purchased this one separately. It didn't come with the monitor, which was honestly quite a shame because these can get quite expensive. Now let's talk power supply. I personally hated these small little batteries that you can put into the camera because they run out so fast and then you're constantly changing something. I wanted a one-stop solution, one thing. I just plug it in, I don't have to worry about it. And the best thing for that are V-mount batteries. So we have this one from SmallRig. It has a whole bunch of different ports. We have like 8 volt out, 12 volt. We have USB-A and USB-C. And here on this side, we have the classic D-tap connection. To add this onto this monster build, we have this plate here. It's a V-mount plate from SmallRig as well. And the cool thing about this one is it has not only its own power switch here, but it has an additional D-tap port here, 8 volts, 12 volts, 12 volts. And under this tape used to be a USB-A that I used to power my old monitor with it, but exactly what I was praising earlier about the HDMI port and that you need a clamp, I yanked it out, it broke completely, so I'm not using that anymore. As you can see right now, the camera is a little bit front heavy, but we will fix that with the V-mount battery that we can just slide on here and we can adjust that. And now it's quite balanced. Then I have one of those dummy batteries for the GH6, GH7, with the dummy battery in here. And then with D-tap connection, you just plug it straight, in this case, either in the plate or straight into the camera. Now we still need to power the monitor. You got two options to power the monitor. One is just with a normal MPF battery. I didn't want that because there was another battery that I need to check if it's charged or not and have to charge separately, etc, etc. So I bought this adapter and then you can just run the cable to the back, to the battery. Now we have power to the monitor, we have power to the camera. Everything is being run by this small battery here in the back, and that's just a lifesaver at this point. Then the only thing to make this look complete would be a matte box. And yeah, since the matte box is a bigger size than the lens itself, it comes with these adapter rings, which you can just screw onto the front of the camera. They're all varying in sizes. And then once that's secured, you can just add the matte box onto here, line it up. There's this little screw up here. And there you have it. This is one hell of a rig, one hell of a beast. While it does look really cool, it looks really professional, it is really professional. It is heavy, it is really heavy, and after a long day of filming, you would feel it everywhere. You would feel it in your back, you would feel it in your legs. If you work on a bigger set and you have an actual crew around the camera, then a rig like this makes sense. But it's just massive, and for run and gun filmmaking, this is just way too heavy in my opinion. So how do we break it down from a monstrum like this to something a lot more portable, but still professional? And the answer to that lies within this piece from SmallRig. The cool thing about this now is you can eliminate everything that goes on underneath here. You don't need these heavy rails, you don't need this big ass piece here in the middle that holds everything together, and therefore it is more compact and quicker to set up as well. So I'm gonna strip everything down and let's get into the smaller rig and my personal favorite right now. As you can see, a lot less stuff than before. Because did you notice how long it took to build the other rig? It took forever and there were so many parts, and this is a lot simpler, stripped down and easier version of that. We already have the lens on the camera this time, and all of the part, everything that was underneath the camera prior to that, the rails, the whole system is replaced by this tiny thing. Look at it, it's tiny. So you just fold it up, boom, like this. You don't need anything additional down here because the bottom of the tilter cage is a nadir rail as well. You just slide it in, lock it, and that's it. So let's free the monitor here to the side, fold this back up, and tighten this screw here. Then we can just flip the monitor and have it like this. Next up, we're gonna use the V-mount battery. The V-mount battery, just like before, easy as pie, just slides on here, done. Let's add some handles to the side. My trusty wooden grip, I love this one to death. And then we can also use the second grip for the right side. But honestly, this is how I was rocking it for quite some time. But recently I've just decided to take this off and to ditch it completely, because you do have a handle on the camera, right? And this allows me to grab my camera a lot tighter and to make it more stable. And it also makes the profile of the camera a little bit less. Now let's add a top handle here, add the monitor from before, and let's add the HDMI cable. Add the power cable to the monitor. And let's not forget the dummy battery to power the whole camera in itself. And there you have it. Now the only thing that is missing is the matte box. And you're ready to roll. Small, compact cinema rig camera, and I gotta say I love this setup. It is still looking cool, it is still professional. You can still show up on a shoot and have your clients impressed. You have all the functionality, you have all the benefits of what the other rig has. Sure, you lose out on the follow focus, but honestly you can just grip it, especially like if you film it yourself. If you like it, there are other options how you can still add a follow focus to the system. For example, with another little rail that you can attach somewhere here to have it come in from the top. But this is everything that I need for my rig. This is everything that it needs to do. It is professional looking, it is compact, it is not so heavy. It is quite, I wouldn't say light, because light is, what is light? But it is easy to handle, easy to carry around. It has a smaller footprint, and it's nicely balanced. Now, if you have any questions regarding any of the products that you've seen here today, leave me a comment down below and I'll make sure I'll get to it, and maybe even make a dedicated video to one of these products. And there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments which of those two rigs you like better. And also let me know, do you rig your camera, or do you say, nah, I like it straight out of the box, I'll rock it pure and simple. Whatever the case may be, please share photos of your rig. I'm dying to know what you guys are rocking. Send them to me over at Carbone Films on Instagram, and follow there if you want to see more of the stuff that I do, if you want to be updated for new videos and behind the scenes. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. By redistributing, I cannot say that word, Jesus Christ. A couple of years later, I showed up with my GH6 Now,